Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome to my guide on how to do the Giants Foundry minigame. Now, if you're unaware, this is the new smithing minigame that was implemented into old school RuneScape. And time out. I'm sorry. What is going on here? What is this, Jagex? You had one job. How is anybody supposed to do a cinematic shot here with this monstrosity happening? What, did nobody look at this? Anyways, back to what I was saying. In order to get here, you have to complete the Sleeping Giants quest. Now, this is a relatively easy quest to do, and once you have completed it, you are able to do the minigame. With the fact that you have to do the quest in order to do this minigame, I'm going to assume that everybody knows how to get here, because, well, you have to get here during the quest. Once you've completed the quest, you can then get commissions from Kovac, where he will tell you which type of sword that he wants you to specifically smelt, and then you must make the highest quality sword that you can possibly make, depending on which tier you are capable of smithing, which is based on your smithing levels. Now, you do have to bring your own bars to utilize here in the minigame, but when you're doing so, make sure you bring multiple types of bars. You don't want to use the same type of bar for your entire inventory, because not only do you get less score, but it also costs you more GP. If you actually mix and match your bars, for instance, let's say you're making steel bars for an example, it's good to mix some iron bars in with your steel bars, about half and half. You actually get more score that way rather than just using all steel bars. So it's kind of a win-win. Not only do you get more score by doing so, but you also save yourself some money. Now, after you obtain a commission from Kovac, he will give you a specific type of sword that he wants you to create. Let's look at this example. My commission is a broad and light sword. I have to try to get the most score out of both of those categories in my commission. You have 3 different sections of the mold, and each one you should be trying to get the most score. Now, your commission that you're trying to get score in has a green bar underneath each section. So keep an eye on that, and again, you're trying to get the most points as possible. Some of the section of the mold actually give you points in both of your categories, and that's normally the one you want to go with, as it gives you the most points. But if you don't have one that gives you points in both of them, just go for the highest points in one of them that you can possibly obtain. Now, the higher the score at the end of creating this mold means the better reward you're going to get at the end, and you're not going to get the best scores right off the bat, because after you've played this minigame for quite some time, you can actually purchase better molds that will result in higher score. But for now, just do the best that you can. Once your mold is set up and ready to go, you want to obtain your bars or your metal equipment that you're going to smelt into bars by using on the crucible here. Place everything that you're using in the crucible and then pour it over into the mold. Now you want to collect from the mold. If you have ice gloves is the best, obviously, because you can just equip it, or you can use a bucket of water, whichever one you want to utilize. But if we look up here, you have 3 sections of the minigame. The top section here is the quality of the sword that you are crafting. If you make any mistakes during this minigame, that quality will eventually go down, which means less rewards at the end. It's very, very crucial that you keep this quality as high as you can possibly make it. Now, you might be wondering, well, my quality isn't this high up. Why is your quality higher? It depends on the mold that you created at the beginning. If you have higher score, the more quality that you have access to. That's why it's important to make sure that you have the highest score when you are creating the mold. It's also based off the tier of ores that you're utilizing, so it depends on your metal score as well as your mold score. Those two add up to create the quality overall of your sword. Now I'm going to be talking about the temperature of your sword, which is indicated by this second bar right here. As you can see, there are 3 different colors, green, yellow, and red, which I'll go over here in a little bit. But for now, just understand that the further right your arrow is pointing to means the hotter your weapon is, and the further left it's pointing to means it's cooler. Every single tick, the temperature of your sword does drop, so you have to keep an eye on it. To increase the temperature of your sword, you can use it on the lava pool. If you left click, you can just heat it up, or if you right click, you can dunk the sword in, which will increase the temperature a lot more every single time. And if you need to cool it down, just use your sword on the waterfall. Again, it has a right click option, which will cool it down faster, but you have to be careful because you have to keep it in the green, yellow, or red sections depending on which activity you are doing, which again, I will cover here in a little bit. Now that you understand how to control the temperature of your sword, you have to look at which activity you are assigned. Each time you are doing this minigame, your activity is going to be different, and the amount of times that you have to do an activity is going to fluctuate depending on which tier sword that you are making. As you can see, the first activity I was assigned was a red hammer. This means that while I'm doing this activity, I have to keep the temperature of my weapon in the red section. You can tell which section your temperature is by the arrow, and if the red square is highlighted, that means that you are within the red temperature for your sword. Now, the red hammer activity means you have to use your sword on the trip hammer. At all times while you are doing the trip hammer, the heat of your sword has to stay within the red bar. If it goes below the red bar, then you just heat it back up using the lava pool, and if it goes higher than the red bar, then you can cool it down from the waterfall. Just whatever you do, make sure that the arrow remains in the red box and it stays highlighted at all times. If it isn't and you use the trip hammer, your quality will go down. Now, the next activity you can do is the grindstone. This is the yellow bar, and it is located right next to the trip hammer. Now, when you're using the grindstone, it is actually the exact opposite. You want the arrow to be at the bottom of the yellow because when you are using the grindstone, it actually heats your weapon up versus cooling it down like the other activities do. So once your arrow is at the bottom of the yellow bar for the temperature gauge, you can then start using the grindstone, which will again increase the heat of your weapon. So if at any point it gets too hot, you can cool it down using the waterfall, and if you accidentally get it too cool, you can heat it back up to get it within that yellow box. And the last and final activity is the green one, which is the polishing wheel. Now you want this to remain in the green bar for the temperature gauge, and when you use this, it does decrease the temperature. So once it gets too low or too close to leaving the green bar, just go heat it back up at the lava pool, and then you can go right back onto polishing the wheel. Once you have finally completed all of your activities, you can go hand in your sword to Kovac by right-clicking and hand in. He will then take the sword from you and give you a nice juicy experience reward and coins depending on the quality of your weapon. And again, just a quick iteration, the quality of your sword is based off your mound score from when you first created the mound, which can be increased by purchasing better molds within the actual reward shop, and it also is dependent on the tier of bars that you are utilizing. Now here's something I pulled from the wiki. This is actually a list of the best possible combinations for your mount to get the highest possible score. Now please keep in mind this is not something you're going to be able to do at the very start of you doing this minigame, because to actually achieve this score you have to purchase the mounts to get higher score from the reward shop after playing a couple of times. Now that you hopefully know how to play, I'm going to show you the actual rewards that you can obtain from doing this minigame. Besides the mounts that I mentioned previously that you can purchase, you can actually get the Callisto Blade, which is a weapon that requires 60 attack, which from my understanding hits higher on NPCs that are larger than you. You can also get the Smithing outfit, which is different than the other skilling outfits. Instead of bonus experience, it gives you a 20% chance of speeding up any anvil actions by 1 tick. And if you wear the full outfit, it increases this chance by 100%. So that's pretty cool. You also have access to ore packs, which just gives you random ores. You have smithing catalysts, if I'm saying that correctly, which helps you smelt bars at the normal furnace. It just halves the amount of coal that you would need and doubles your experience. You have the Kovic's Grog, which gives you a +4 smithing bonus, and then the double ammo cannon mold, which gives you double the amount of cannonballs when you are smelting cannonballs.